Hello, welcome to part two of Finding Zeros, a test question on your exam, and understanding FOIL. I'm going to go over a couple of videos in detail to understand FOIL. It's really important you understand if you want to check your answers. I think on these exams it's more important you get a certain number of answers correct versus finishing all of the problems. And FOIL is a way to check your answers. When you're finding zeros of functions, many times you're going to use factoring there, and I'll go over the different type of factors in future videos of this series. But it's really important you understand how to FOIL because that's how you check your answer. FOIL is the inverse or the opposite operation of factoring. And that's how you're going to, again, check your answers. And that's how you know if you're going to get your option A, B, C, or D correct on these exams. So let's just jump right on into it. Thank you for joining me. When you are focused on FOIL, FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last, right? And basically you're using what's called distribution property. And anybody who's familiar with distribution understands it's multiplication. It's multiplying or distributing a term that's outside the parentheses, typically, with each multiplying with each term inside the parentheses, right? And I'll go over that with you in a moment. It's the inverse or the opposite operation of factoring. And again, that's how you're going to find a number of your answers when you are trying to answer the question defining the zeros of a function. And if you recall from my previous videos going over test questions, there's also substitution method that you could use. You could use the substitution method in order to find answers A, B, C, or D, but that is very time consuming, and I know this is a timed assessment. So getting back to FOIL, this is not an example of FOIL, this right here. This is an example of distribution property, where you're going to take one term outside the parentheses, the 2, and you're going to multiply times each of the terms inside the parentheses. Now, when we're dealing with FOIL, you add up a second term on the outside of the parentheses, but it's pretty much the same thing as distribution property. You're going to multiply 2 times 3x plus 2 times 2y, as you can see here with the arrows indicating where you're going to be multiplying within those parentheses. So this is an example of distribution property again. So step 1, multiply each term outside the parentheses with each term inside the parentheses one at a time. Going slow and organizing your values as you go. So again, 2 times 3x. I'm showing you here, 2 times 3x. Plus 2 times a positive 2y. I'm showing you that here. All right, let's multiply the 2 times the 3x. We're just going to bring down that plus sign. Raise it up a little bit here. Multiply 2 times 2, which is attached to the y. So 2 times 3 is 6x plus 4y. At this point, you want to combine like terms, but we don't have any like terms. If you need a review of like terms versus non-like terms, check out my video. I've uploaded that, and you can watch that at your leisure. But here you can see there's an x value, a y value. In order to add, they have to be like terms, which means they both need to have the same variable or exponent. I'm sorry, the same variable, that's or letter, right? X and Y are variables. And they need to have the same exponential power. These do not. So that's as far as we can go. We've simplified this term as far as we can. Hey, let's go ahead and take a look at foiling. What is FOIL? Now we've gone over distribution property. Gosh, that was a sloppy interchange, but hey, it's going to have to work. Let's go over what is FOIL, right? What is FOIL? So we're multiplying first, term to first term. That's the first term to first term. Outer, right? We're going to multiply the outer term with the outer term. Inner term, right? We're going to multiply the inner terms. And then last, we'll multiply the last terms. If you look carefully, this is a way to remember what terms to multiply or distribute. You have the eyebrows, you have the nose, and you have a mouth. Okay? And so let's do this one at a time, step by step. Let's FOIL these two terms. Again, first you're going to multiply first term to first term, right? And that's x times x, right? X times x. Then you're going to multiply the outer terms. That's x times that negative 1. X times the negative 1. Then you want to multiply the inner term to inner term, right? Let's take a look at that again. The inner term to the inner term, x times a positive 1. And we have x times a positive 1 right here. And then finally, last term to last term, right? Let's take a look. What does that look like? Last term to last term. All right, so we have last term to last term. 1 times a negative 1. Again, distribution is multiplication. And we're distributing each term going to be multiplied together. Now, here I'm combining all of the terms that you had seen up above together. All right? X times x plus 1x times a negative 1 plus 1x times a positive 1 plus the positive 1 times the negative 1. I'm using very friendly numbers because I'm not interested in tricking you. I'm just interested in showing you how to FOIL. I'm showing the invisible one in front of those variables, right? Since there's no other numbers, I'm going to show that invisible one. Can you write a whole 1 in front of those terms? You absolutely can. I'm also showing the invisible 1 in the exponent's place. So 1 times 1 is 1x. And when you add those exponents, 1 plus 1 is 2. We have x times x is x squared. I bring down my plus sign. I move on to my next terms. 1 times a negative 1 is negative 1, x plus plus. 1x times 1 is 1, x plus, I bring down my plus sign. Positive 1 times a negative 1 is a negative 1 term. Okay? So I'm going really slow here, organizing my terms one at a time. Now, lastly, you're going to combine like terms, right? Like terms. So we want to write these guys in algebraic order. That means alphabetical order, which is okay. We only have one letter here, that's x. And then it goes in exponential order. The power of 2 before the power of 1, and so on and so forth. So we have x squared plus a negative 1, plus a positive 1, plus a negative 1. Positive and negative cancel out to be 0. I'm left with x squared. Since there's no other x squareds, that term is all by itself. Plus a negative 1. Since there's no other consonants, no other whole numbers around, I'm just going to rewrite that. Negative 1. My final answer, x squared plus a negative 1. So this would be the term you'd want to factor. You would perform the FOIL. X plus 1 times x minus 1 would get you the factorization of this particular expression, and vice versa. I've got a part 2 of performing FOIL. Got a lot more examples to show you. And so let's take a look at that. Thank you for joining me. Hey, math is easy. Take it step by